This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
A rocket fired from Gaza has exploded in a shopping centre in the southern Israeli city of Ashkelon. At least 30 people were wounded. The rocket attack coincides with a visit by President Bush as part of Israel's 60th anniversary celebrations.
Well, at the same time, Palestinians are marking the Nakba, or catastrophe, the 1948 war that sent many Palestinians into exile. David Chater reports now from Jerusalem.
The rocket smashed into the upper floors of a shopping mall in the centre of Ashkelon, crowded with people. No red alert had been sounded in the city to give them any warning of an impending attack. Among those seriously wounded is a mother and her baby girl, as well as another child, according to a hospital spokesman. Rescue services and ambulance teams were quickly on the scene and managed to rescue several shoppers trapped in the rubble. The Israeli army say the rocket was launched from Bet Lahia in the north of the Gaza Strip. The rockets, usually fired out of Gaza, do not have the range to reach Ashkelon. It's thought a more powerful Grad-type Katyusha was used. The city, which has a population of 100,000, is 15 kilometers from the border with Gaza.
It is an honor and a privilege.
At an international conference attended by President Bush to celebrate Israel's 60th birthday, the Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert roundly condemned the attack.
What happened today is entirely intolerable and unacceptable. The government of Israel is committed to stop it, and we will take the necessary steps.
President Bush, who received a standing ovation at the conference hall, also had a message for those who claim responsibility for the attack.
America stands for peace, and so does Israel. And as we stand in peace, we must understand the realities of the world in which we live. We must be steadfast, and we must be strong in the face of those who murder the innocent to achieve their objectives.
It's claimed these pictures show the launch of the rocket that hit the shopping mall in Ashkelon. Several Palestinian resistance groups inside Gaza have claimed responsibility.
A rocket battery of Salahuddin brigades launched successfully today the upgraded Nasir 4 rocket, which firing resulted in dozens of casualties in the occupied city of Ashkelon. And in this respect, we state that the firing of rockets comes as a natural response to the massacres and incursions perpetrated by the Zionist enemy on the soil of Gaza Strip.
Earlier in the day, the Israeli army launched a series of attacks inside the Gaza Strip. Medical officials say civilians were among those killed and wounded. David Chater, Al Jazeera, Jerusalem.
Air Force One touched down in Israel shortly after 11 o'clock this morning, bringing the U.S. President to Israel for the second time in some 4 months. The President and First Lady were given a regal welcome at Ben Gurion Airport. IBA's Erin Viner reports.
Ben Gurion Airport sparkled this morning as Israel's leaders lined up to greet President George W. Bush and his wife Laura on the red carpet as they arrived to celebrate Israel's 60th year of independence. Even more than the words, the hugs, backslapping, and easy intimacy between Bush and Israel's cabinet ministers revealed the depth of the American president's friendship with Israel. Behind the smiles, however, it was clear to everyone the future is clouded with uncertainty. Bush in the waning days of his presidency, and Olmert in the thick of intensive police investigation. President Bush promised that during his Knesset address tomorrow, he will relate to substantive issues, Chief among them, the grave strategic threat posed by Iran from Israel's point of view. But this morning, the mood was festive and upbeat.
We're proud to reaffirm the friendship of our peoples, and we're delighted to join you in celebrating the 60th anniversary of the State of Israel. Laura and I appreciate your invitation, your kind invitation, to share these days of celebration with you. We consider the Holy Land a very special place, and we consider the Israeli people our close friends. Shalom.
Throughout the years, the strategic alliance with America has become one of the fundamental pillars of our national security. And the bond between our peoples has grown deeper and stronger with time. America has been there at each and every important crossroad in the life of our young country and stood by us in times of hope and in moments of crisis. Since assuming office almost 8 years ago, President George Bush has been our closest ally and partner. Your decision to celebrate this historic milestone with us is an extraordinary gesture of friendship and is further evidence of your unending commitment to the security and well-being of our country.
The presidential couple flew to Jerusalem on the Marine One helicopter and early this afternoon met with President Shimon Peres at his Jerusalem residence. After a brief tour of the grounds, the two reviewed an honor guard of the Israel Navy as a gesture to the U.S. leader whose father, George Bush Sr., served as a pilot in the U.S. Navy. Accompanied by their entourages, the two leaders held talks in a vine-covered gazebo in the grounds of the residence. This is Erin Viner for IBA News.
And I'm joined now in the studio by Dr. Ranan Gissin, who is media advisor to former Prime Minister Ariel Sharon. Ranan, great to see you again.
Thank you, Leah.
You're very familiar with these kinds of meetings. The affection between President Bush and Olmert and the other leaders seem to be very genuine.
Well, you know, it's more than that. It's an affection with Israel. It's a conviction. And it comes out of a formative visit, which is documented in this book in 1998 when he was still governor of Texas
and
with his brother.
And that book is your
My diary of 1998 when Sharon was still foreign minister. And I forced him to take him on a helicopter ride. He wanted to brief him in the office. And I said, look, this man may be president one day. And lo and behold, 10 years later, you see the results of the seeds that were planted in that very famous visit. In later stages, and I had the privilege of meeting the president for 12 times. On various occasions, he said when he came to Israel first, at that time, he had a revelation.
Palestinians in Ramallah responded to the Israeli International Political Campaign to celebrate its 60th anniversary by holding protests near the Israeli borders as a way to exercise their right of return to their homes. Our reporter in Ramallah, Mohammed Sakala, accompanied the Palestinian protesters and prepared the following report.
We have been away from our country for 60 years and we are not going anywhere. We want our land back. We will not give our land up for the Jews. We are ready for martyrdom.
This is how the Palestinians responded. They have commemorated the right of return to their homes on the 60th anniversary of their catastrophe. Those who were able participated in demonstrations near the border. The demonstrations this year were unique because they showed that the right of return does not only apply to those who were directly expelled from their homes.
My grandparents and old relatives and the schools teach us about what the Jews did to our people and lands.
While Israel held the largest international political campaign to celebrate its establishment, The Palestinians here did what they can do to show the magnitude of the crime that was committed against the only nation that continues to live under direct occupation.
Foreign diplomats should have visited the victims first. This would have been a moral message to send to the world. Those who are going to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem are without morals and have no conscience. They have no respect for justice and law.
The many days spent commemorating this painful memory were crowned with these walking demonstrations that encountered the separation wall and security checkpoints, thus transforming them into confrontations with the occupation soldiers. Israel has recruited presidents and leaders to legitimize its existence on Palestinian land stolen 60 years ago. The Palestinians here commemorate this day by holding demonstrations near the borders as a way to exercise the right of return to their land. Mohammed Al-Sayed, Dubai Television, Qalandia Refugee Camp, Palestine.
أهلا بكم إلى جولتنا الإخبارية منتصف اليوم ونبدأها من بيروت. بدأ الوفد الوزاري العربي
The Arab delegation which arrived to Beirut started mediating between the Lebanese government loyalists and opposition. Upon arrival, the Arab delegation headed by Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Hamid bin Jassam Al Thani met with the Lebanese Parliament Speaker Nakba Berri and Prime Minister Fouad Siniora. A number of opposition leaders are also scheduled to meet with government loyalists.
From the airport runway, where the spark that triggered the armed crisis in Lebanon was ignited, the mission of the Arab delegation has started in an attempt to bridge the deepening gap between the Lebanese contesting parties. The arrival of the Arab delegation, headed by Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Hamid bin Jassam Al Thani, was the first flight to arrive at Al-Hariri's International Airport in 1 week, thus opening the door for a glimmer of hope that the new Lebanese crisis will be resolved. There is no doubt that the contesting parties are looking forward to hearing the ideas that were brought with the Arab delegation to resolve the crisis, which the Arab League Secretary General Amr Moussa could not resolve. Before the delegation started its meetings in Beirut, the Lebanese opposition insisted that the recent government's decisions must be revoked first before entering negotiations on what they called a basket of issues of mutual interest. The opposition demands are the same as their old ones, but this time the opposition has imposed new facts on the ground, which is enforcing its military control over important areas that belong to its two opponents, parliament members Saad al-Hariri and Walid Jumblat. There is information that the government will inevitably revoke the decisions that preceded the latest armed crisis. However, the government loyalists have not made a decision on whether they will participate in the national dialogue. Al-Hariri said that he refuses to sit at the negotiations table while a gun is pointed to his head. His allies also insisted that the first item on the agenda must be Hezbollah's weapons. It was not possible for the contesting parties to enter into dialogue before the armed clashes erupted, but now the two sides agree that things will get worse if they fail to reach an agreement. For the opposition, worse means exerting more pressure. For the government loyalists, worse means ethnic strife. But for the Lebanese army, worse means civil war.
Former Lebanese Prime Minister Salim Al-Hus said that the political sides in Lebanon must come to an agreement based on the Arab initiative. Al-Hus urged the Lebanese leaders to announce a declaration of intentions regarding the election of a new president and work toward an agreement regarding the makeup of the government. He further said that the newly formed government must be given the constitutional responsibility of drafting the election law.
The only exit out of this crisis is through consensus among the Lebanese in conformity with the Arab initiative. They must announce a declaration of intentions that include the election of a non-partisan president, and they must agree on the makeup of the previous government, which must be granted the constitutional privilege over election laws. We hope to hold parliamentary elections that will renew the political life in Lebanon after the political front was taken over by the epidemic of corruption and the evil of arms. And we say no to the concept of violence and authoritarianism.
هذا في بيروت إذن. أما في واشنطن فقد قال نائب رئيس مجلس الأمن القومي في البيت الأبيض.
In Washington, White House Deputy U.S. National Security Advisor Elliot Abrams said that his country will exert efforts in order to have the Security Council handle the Lebanese crisis. Abrams added that Washington intends this week to take steps regarding the Lebanese crisis, and it may start with the Security Council.
Two
leaders from the Iraqi Islamic Party have escaped injury in two separate consecutive attacks in two separate areas in the Iraqi capital. Abed Karim El-Sumarai, deputy chief of the Iraq Security and Defense Committee and a prominent leader in the Islamic Party, escaped an assassination attempt following a bombing attack on his convoy. Al-Sumarai was on his way to work at the time of the attack, in which 3 of his guards were killed and several others were wounded. In addition, Iyad al-Sumarai, a prominent leader in the Islamic Party and a representative from the Iraqi Accordance Front, escaped an assassination attempt following a car bombing attack on his convoy in the area of Yarmouk. 2 people were killed and 6 others were wounded in clashes that erupted between the Iraqi security forces and armed fighters from the Al-Mahdi army in the Shuala neighborhood northwest of Baghdad. According to eyewitnesses, automatic weapons and heavy artilleries were used in the clashes. In addition, U.S. helicopters were seen hovering over the neighborhood, which is considered to be one of al-Mahdi army's strongholds. Meanwhile, the Iraqi Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki, arrived in Mosul, in northern Iraq, where the Iraqi and U.S. joint forces are carrying an offensive against armed al-Qaeda fighters. Al-Maliki was accompanied by his defense minister, Abed Kader Jazm al-Abedi, and a number of senior military commanders. Backed by the U.S. military, the Iraqi forces are carrying out Operation Lion Roar, which was described by the U.S. Army as the new stage in the fight against al-Qaeda. In other development, the UN has opened its first office in the Anbar province, where the UN will monitor the upcoming provincial elections in the country. With this, the High Election Commissioner overseeing the provincial elections is recognizing the Awakening Council as a political entity. Amidst these developments, the tribes in the Anbar province are exerting efforts to form one tribal list to compete in the upcoming elections. The details are in the following report by Majid Hamid.
After declaring a victory over the armed groups in the Anbar province, the local tribes are trying to mark a new stage on the political front. This news comes as the tribes announced that they will enter the upcoming provincial elections in Iraq. The tribes took several measures to guarantee a victory in the upcoming elections. They are holding daily conferences at the Anbar public gathering places in order to form one tribal list that can compete in the provincial elections.
Today we're getting ready for the upcoming elections. The tribes are now trying to elect their representatives. We will play a leading role in the political process. We're standing behind the political process and the democratic campaign in Iraq. We will help build Iraq and the Iraqi army on the national level and away from sectarianism and power sharing.
The tribal leaders in the Anbar province discussed ways to bridge the gap between the various parliamentary blocs, including the Islamic Party, so they would join the political process.
We don't have problems with the leaders of the Islamic Party. However, we want to be able to voice our opinion, and we disagree with any attempt to marginalize those who sacrificed and fought hard and were the main reason for the security we are witnessing today.
There are many parties trying to control the province. However, the tribes will stand united and enter the elections with one voice.
The security issues in the Anbar province were the focus of discussion among the Iraqi and United States military commanders in an attempt to find a solution prior to the elections set for October. The elections will have a direct impact on the political process, especially because they are preceding the upcoming parliamentary elections in the country. For the past few days and until next October, there appears to be various tribal and political maneuvers taking place in the Anbar province. On October, Iraq will hold provincial elections. Such elections will decide who will lead the Anbar province. Is it the tribes with their awakening councils, or is it the political parties that have been in power since 2003? From the Anbar province in western Iraq, Majid Hamid, Al-Iraqiya.
Members of the Health Committee in the Iraqi parliament revealed new details about sending Iraqi children on a regular basis for medical treatment in Israel. This action was organized by the American Iraqi Aid Center without the knowledge of the Iraqi government, prompting members of the parliamentary committee to declare that this operation is in violation of Iraq's sovereignty.
Iraqi children have been sent to Tel Aviv for the past year through the American Iraqi Aid Center, which is administered by the United States. The operation was conducted in extreme secrecy without the knowledge of the Iraqi government or the International Health Organization. American officials notified us that the director of the American Iraqi Aid Center has refused to be interviewed on this matter, which was uncovered by coincidence by Iraqi officials from the Health Committee in the Parliament.
اتصل بعدد من الأطباء العراقيين من عمان ذكروا أن هناك إرسال لأطفال عراقيين.
They called a number of Iraqi doctors and said that Iraqi children are being sent to Tel Aviv. As a member in the Health Committee in the Iraqi Parliament, they send me emails with the details. They also called me and told me the news. We didn't know this news beforehand. Parliament member Hussein al-Diami, Osama al-Nujifi, and Dr. Salman al-Jumli investigated the issue. At the time they were in Amman, they found out that Iraqi children have been sent to Tel Aviv for the past year. It turned out that this was not the first wave of children that have been sent to Tel Aviv. The problem is getting bigger than this.
أما المشكلة هي مشكلة أكبر من ذلك، هي حالة عامة، هي الحقيقة اختراق لوزارة الصحة.
It is about violating the Ministry of Health and Iraqi government and sovereignty. No sick Iraqi child or adult can leave Iraq to seek medical treatment anywhere in the world without the knowledge of the International Health Organization. There are certain individuals who have been sending children to Tel Aviv in complete secrecy. This may have been the fourth or fifth group of children that have been sent.
وبتكتم شديد بحيث أنه هذه تكون الوجبة الرابعة أو الخامسة التي أرسلت ونحن لا ندري.
This issue has raised many questions for the parliament member Nawal al-Samarai and Mahmoud Othman.
Why was the cardio center in Iraq burned? Why are Iraqi doctors forced to migrate? Because they want to send our sick children to Tel Aviv. I think that these things are linked. Why would Israel pay a great deal of money to treat Iraqi children while it kills Palestinian children on a daily basis? Therefore, something else must be at work. There must be another reason behind sending these children to Tel Aviv.
I have one question. Where are the Arab countries? We have 23 Arab countries, and no country is willing to help these poor children.
Despite the measures that will be taken in the future to control the process of sending Iraqi children abroad for medical treatment, it seems that all the people who were in charge are responsible one way or another. The investigation is still ongoing to find names of the children who were sent to Tel Aviv to receive medical treatment. However, there's an irony in all this. Iraqis are being treated in Tel Aviv while our neighbors continue to export death into Iraq. As Sumaria satellite television, Ali Ramadan.
The former Pakistani Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif, has withdrawn his party from the coalition government, which was formed 6 weeks ago. This news may take the country, once again, into political uncertainty. Sharif announced the withdrawal of the Pakistan Muslim League, which is the second largest member of a four-party alliance from the coalition government. The withdrawal of the Muslim League followed the collapse of talks with the leader of the Pakistan People's Party over the reinstatement of the judges ousted by Musharraf.
6 weeks after it was formed, the Pakistan coalition government suffered a major blow after the head of the Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz Sharif, announced the withdrawal of his party's ministers from the cabinet. This news comes after talks have failed to reinstate the judges deposed by President Pervez Musharraf last November.
Our party held a session for its parliamentary bloc and its leadership and decided to withdraw from the coalition government. This comes after the deadline given to the government to reinstate the judges ousted by Musharraf has run out. Now that the deadline has run out, our ministers will submit their resignation to the government.
Meanwhile, the Pakistani government announced that it remains committed to the reinstatement of the deposed judges. However, according to the senior Pakistani lawyers, the government is facing mounting pressure, not only from Musharraf, but also from abroad, aimed at preventing the reinstatement of the judges.
I think something new has come since the government agreed to reinstate the judges fired by Musharraf. I believe that the Pakistan People's Party is facing mounting pressure from abroad to prevent it from fulfilling its promises to reinstate the deposed judges. This pressure is not coming from any source but the United States, which seems to be opposing the reinstatement of the judges.
The position the government found itself in after the resignation of the ministers from the Pakistan Muslim League may lead to further political chaos and unrest.
It will also depend. The future depends on the premeditated measures that President Musharraf may take. There appears to be talks about imposing direct presidential rule in the state of Punjab, and if this happens, it will further complicate the situation. By the same token, no direct rule is imposed in Punjab, the situation will still witness deterioration, especially considering that the state government of Punjab supports the lawyers' movement in Islamabad. In the next few days, Pakistan may witness street confrontations, conspiracies, and political maneuvers at all levels.
The Pakistani government may accept or reject the resignation submitted by the ministers of the Pakistan Muslim League, but regardless, this resignation has put the leadership of the Pakistan People's Party in an awkward situation. The party must make a decision, either to please the Pakistani public or the president and his supporters. The resignation of the Pakistan Muslim League from the coalition government, which is led by the People's Party, is turning the heat on the government to deal with the mounting public pressure, demanding the reinstatement of the judges expelled by President Pervez Musharraf.
بدأت الحياة في ولاية الخرطوم وتعود إلى طبيعتها.
Life in Khartoum has returned to normal as it was before the events of Saturday. Citizens of Omdurman and the Khartoum coast went out to conduct business as usual to purchase their necessities from the markets of the capital.
هذا هو المشهد بولاية الخرطوم في صباح اليوم الرابع من اعتداء.
This is the scene in Khartoum on the morning of the fourth day after the attacks from the Chadian army's mercenaries. Life has returned to normal and everyone returned to their work. Transportation and traffic appeared to be moving, carrying citizens between areas and other different neighborhoods in the state.
My name is Abdulrahman Ali Musad.
Is this route open?
Yes, this is the northern route through Omdurman.
You're going to Jazeera?
Yes, I'm going to Jazeera.
Describe the conditions.
Everything is good and there is no disorder. Everything is fine and calm.
This is another scene in the steadfast and firm capital, Omdurman, where citizens went out to buy their necessities from different markets in the city. Traders went to their stores after closing them for 2 or 3 days to protect their lives and properties.
Thank God, everything is good and there is security. We are working under God's protection. There is nothing wrong. There are shoppers and people are buying meat, vegetables and fruit. There are no problems. Thank God.
The general situation is calm. There are no incidents. The road to the capital is open. There is nothing. There is stability.
This is the image that was taken by the television camera on a tour inside the capital, Khartoum. It shows normal conditions which had existed before the latest events. The predominant sentiment among citizens is one of safety and security. All the people view the treacherous attacks as events which will never destroy the people nor affect their unity and dignity.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.